FMOTL posted this video, and I want to show it to you, and I reposted it, so maybe you can go into my reposts and watch it. I don't think I can play it because he's not allowing downloads. So even though, from my personal knowledge, have studied this video, I want you to go watch it, because what it does is it shows
King Charles
that they are swearing in.
His Majesty King Charles.
To His Majesty King Charles.
They're swearing in to His Majesty King Charles, all his heirs and successors, and then there's also placed in the video
to be getting it right.
King Charles III.
They're calling him publicly King Charles III, but
It has just been.
this is a very weird video. This part is saying that the Queen Elizabeth, it says something like, was delivered of a prince. It doesn't say she delivered a prince, which is also weird. And then they've got
I'm not both doing.
proof
The ceremony was neither
in the
conducted
Stone of Destiny. I don't know where that video is. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's on YouTube or Stone of Destiny. It shows that they proved that she did not sign this. She signed it above rather than below the words, and that there was no proof that she whatever her coronation had to do with the Stone of Destiny. So it's a very good video.
swearing an oath to a dead king.
So this person is saying, why are they, pledging allegiance, fidelity, whatever they're pledging, to a dead king, Charles the First, because they're not saying Charles the Third. They're saying Charles the First and all his successors and heirs. And this goes back to the House of Stuart. The House of Stuart is in Scotland. And I'm wondering if what we've been seeing is not the rightful, not that somebody else, this guy's lineage, is the rightful king. I don't know for sure, but I do recommend you go watch this video. And what's it called? It's in my reposts right here. It has 15,000 views.
Charles the First.
Is F Motel. So go to F Motel's site, and it's number 4 down. Please go watch the whole thing. I don't know if he did the video or someone else did the video, but also he's got the Supreme Court hearings related to the Destiny Stone. And I think it's important that we keep this in our minds as we're watching whatever it is play out. So I found this death record I thought was interesting. I just wanted to show you. It's a Kennedy, but again, Francis and Kennedy are capitalized, and the middle name is Joanne, upper and lower case. I'm not sure if that means anything. Stonewall. Stonewall means to stonewall someone, to prevent them from finding the truth. Usual occupation, child. Kind of business or industry, none, child. So under the Sesticate Trust, I don't know how many years after you're born they say you're dead, but until you come back from being lost at sea, this was stamped in 1970. And down here we got Johnson, Bellevue, Weathersby Funeral Home, J.F. Johnson. So what I've noticed is the royal family had a child named Archie Harrison, and I saw Archie Harrison signed on, not Archie, but Harrison was a president. So what I think they're doing is they are, I don't know if they're using the royals because they have money as the presidents, or if they're using the presidents as royals. I'm not sure which way it's going. But what I did find is that I did some family trees on the Kennedys. So let me show you the tree. Okay. So we got JF Jr. I also found a JF Jr. born in 1967. But when you go to, let me see, go up here to tree search and type in West. So when I first looked up JF Kennedy under the birth date they're giving us in the, in the media, and the death date, this person came up as his real mother. So this one kind of petered out. I haven't looked up this name yet, or Sabo. And the dates are kind of, I guess the dates are correct. Anyway, West. So when you think of what they're talking about in scripture, and that a child will rise, or a person will rise from the west, that is the lineage of David to lead their children out of slavery and to sit on the throne of David. And then when you look at King Charles, the current King Charles, so this is of the West, which would be J.F. Kennedy Jr. is the real son of this. So from the West, it will rise from the West. And then in the regular one, we've got these names, and I don't know. I think what they're doing has to do with that Carlisle Archives. So Carlisle Archives Indian School has the children, the presidents are in this school. So you look in the school and they will have the names of presidents in the school. And then they'll change the name from Kennedy to Hill. So what do we think about Hill? Capitol Hill. So Charles Kennedy Tainewinkwas, a member of the Onondaga Nation. James Henry Kennedy, Seneca. Let me go back. So Kennedy, John Kennedy, student card from the Piegan Nation, or Hagen? I don't know. Age 13, blood a half, John Kennedy Sr., deserter. So they're not really deserting anything, maybe they don't know how to take their birth records and claim to not be dead or lost at sea anymore and come forth, rising from the west. Okay, so, and I showed you the George Washington one, I think. So George Washington is also going by hill. And then you see a print. So they got these high cheekbones. And if you put a wig, would this look like the person on our quarters? I don't know if they're on quarters. I think is George Washington on a quarter or a dollar? When he first entered the school, Hill was known as George Washington. So this is my theory, that the kings and queens are also the presidents of the United States because of their money. We got Charlie King. Okay, Pratt responds to requests to return Charlie King. So what they're doing is they're begging to go home because they're kept without rights in what I believe, this is 229, 57229, November 8th, 1899. I don't know if I've showed you these before. MERS King's letter, also copy of letter written, Mr. King to King, November 11th, Indian School, Commissioner of Indian Affairs, reply to your second instant marked education. 51794, respectfully enclosed to you copy of the letter of Mr. King, and also return herewith Mr. King's letter. So Major 10th Cavalry Superintendent. So that's, I always look at these numbers in case they, 53568, Mr. George King, West Pier. My dear friend, the Commissioner of Indian Affairs sends me your letter, dated October 28th, and also a copy of his letter to you. It became necessary for us years ago to establish a rule concerning applications of parents for the going home of their children because of the sickness of their parents or others in the family. It was evident that if we allowed the question of sickness among those at home to govern the stay of the child at Carlisle, there would be many students on the road all the time. For this reason, that there are few families where there's not sickness during some period of the year, we therefore made a rule that children should not be allowed to go home on account of the sickness of parents or other members of their families. This was confirmed by the department, and this, to me, when I've looked at it, is the Department of War. This is the Department of War. DOW, Department of War. Dow Jones. Jones is listed in the Bible. It's also listed in a bunch of records. We have followed it ever since. Your son Charlie is here in good health and making fair progress. And the all-important thing to him until he becomes of age in his education, and this is the all-important thing to you also on his account, bank account, Sesticate Trust. We have to make sacrifices for the education of our children. There's no people called upon to make fewer sacrifices in the education of their children than the Indians. So were the founding fathers of this land always called Indians? Were they also kings and queens and the men and women of great wealth. The government undertakes all the expense of tuition, board, and clothing. Yet there is no people that I know of more restless and discontented and opposed to education than the Indians, because they're being kept against their religious rights, against their will. They don't have rights to work, and they don't have rights to money, which I have told you many times. I've read these letters, which makes them dehumanized in a society where they're basically kept as the Bank of America and kept from their true assets because they don't know about the Sesticate Trust and the claiming of the title of the birth record. Charlie will have the right to determine for himself whether he will go home or whether he will remain longer at Carlisle. You can, of course, write him what you like about it, assuring you of great desire to continue to help you in the future as I have in the past in the education of your children. I am sincerely your friend, and then it's not signed. It's dictated. So we don't have a real legitimate signature, but I do believe these are kings. King family. They're showing this picture. Let me get all of the people in. So, okay, so what they're doing, we got King Ophelia, King Charles, unidentified. So I think it's the Indians. So these are people that were the first settlers in America, and then they are, oh, we got Spencer. Let me look at Spencer first here. Again, this is Department of War. Mr. Moses Friedman, superintendent, there is enclosed an application blank of Charles King of the Blackfeet Agency, being born, your Blackfeet, for enrollment at your school, which it is believed belongs in your files. Again, it's not signed, it's just a stamp. And then they just show a blank page. There's nothing else. Claiming that belongs in your files. It's so weird. Okay, let's go back and look at the Spencers. Spencer King. So here we go. So I believe the Spencers are kept here. I don't remember if I looked up Windsor or not. Grade at discharge, orderly. Spencer King, or King Spencer, readmitted, New York. Louis Lyon. I know that I've read about Lyon a bunch. Ran. Full blood. And then they... So I found a bunch of weird documents that had to do with the presidency, the Presidential Preservation Project. And I've shown you the Carlisle records. Hang on. So down here it says presidential candidate Husser. Berhane. Zillionaire Empress Danielle Berhane, management firm. So, presidential candidate Huss. I've tried to look at this several different ways. Empress or Elizabeth Regnant. But I don't know Berhane. Bear is the Orsini line. And I saw Foolish Bear on many documents, but Bear is also in the Scottish line of the Stuart House. So I think, as I've told you, that all of the people at the Carlisle Indian School are, in fact, presidents. Zillionaire Empress Danielle Berhane, management firm, presidential candidate. Have you ever heard of a presidential candidate named Hussein Berhane? I thought of doing this backwards or putting it into gematria and see what it is, and then the Presidential Preservation Project. So I think when I looked up JFK, it said that JFK was born in 1967, JFK Jr., black, and I think that they're using these names interchangeably and using the black designation to take away land holding rights. I've told you about how they're using different colors. People aren't a color. People are a natural living man. So they do the color designation to take away rights to land ownership. But I also find this Presidential Preservation Project interesting. Took place in, this is Canyon View, Lake Arrowhead.